Trevor Shermer. I am a senior consultant at Efficiency, managing and heading up the transportation and logistics vertical. I've been working with Efficiency this time for about 3 years. I actually had a stint with Efficiency from 2019 through 2020. Left to become a controller of a company and became a controller of another company where we actually implemented NetSuite and hired Efficiency to implement NetSuite. So I've actually worked as a consultant with Efficiency, but also as a client with Efficiency, and have been able to understand what a client goes through on a NetSuite implementation, which gives me a rare look at what the client goes through, and am able to use that for my clients now that I'm consulting again. So it's been a little bit of a interesting road, a not conventional road, not so conventional road, but it's been very insightful and helpful. I think those early warning signs are going to come pretty quickly. When you don't see a lot of businesses operating only in spreadsheets because for very long, at least, because the maintenance with it is very, very slow and tedious. So you have to record everything on your own. So, if you're seeing that you have multiple transactions, whether it's an invoice or a payable a day, if you're seeing that you have multiple journal entries you have to make a day, if operations are starting to pick up, those are all signs that spreadsheets aren't going to last very long to keep your financial data. It's very tedious, it's very arduous, and it takes a lot of time to actually update everything because it's very manual. Yeah, the ERP in a transportation business in the T&L industry is going to be your financial system for the most part. It also is going to have different areas where you can do HR in it. You can do purchasing in it. You collect customer payments in the ERP as well. So it handles a lot of the back office functionality to run your business, just like in many other industries as well. You see a higher focus with financial reporting in the T&L space, and especially with purchasing, because your transportation management system, is going to handle more of the operational aspects. So your ERP is really going to be your financial system. It's going to be your reporting system. It's going to be something that you use to withdraw your financial reports to give to your board or to your owners or to auditors or anything like that. Yeah, so TMS or Transportation Management System is going to be how your business runs. It's going to be the system that runs your business day to day, or your operational system. So it's going to track in real time your deliveries and loads. It's going to have different rate tables based off of customer contracts. It's going to have different customers or parent-child customers with different contracts depending on where that customer might be. It's going to calculate route optimization if you need that. It's going to be what your drivers and what your operators are going to be using to schedule the different deliveries, keep track of them in real time, keep up with DOT compliance, those types of day-to-day operations and tasks that need to happen for operations. It's very different from an ERP in that you really are going to have two separate groups using two separate systems. You might have a few employees overlap between the TMS and ERP, but you can think of it in terms of operations stays in the TMS, your back office personnel like accounting, purchasing, HR, AR, AP stays in the ERP. And that allows for really streamlined systems so that your employees and personnel know exactly what system to go to. They're not going back and forth in between each system. And ideally, those systems talk to each other through an integration so that you have real-time data flowing back and forth. I don't think it's just a T&L critical aspect of business. I think it's in any business, and being a CPA myself and being a controller and working with operations, it seems like every company struggles with the infighting that usually happens between operations and finance and accounting. Because operations needs to get the job done for the customer, and that's what they're worried about. But the accountants and the finance managers and all of that are need to make sure that we're in compliance, we're doing things the right way, we're keeping track of everything so that we can get profitability and accounting and all of that. And so I think especially in T&L, but really in any industry, especially if you can have your ops team and your finance and accounting team on the same page, working cohesively, and remove that infighting that is just a natural part of business between operations and finance due to different goals that each department has or each business segment has, you'll be able to create a competitive advantage that really is hard to duplicate for other businesses, right? Um, Having that cohesiveness, the ability to work together between those streamlines everything, and the communication between those teams really can be a competitive advantage. So, getting them on the same page and then using two systems where finance has control over their system, operations has control over their system, allows for an easier path to cohesiveness and teamwork together. Whereas if they're in the same system, they have competing roles, they have competing responsibilities and goals that at one system may not be able to handle both, and that's where compromises come, and sometimes that can cause issues for both parties. The biggest issue is you just don't know if your operations is actually making money. At the core of business, outside of if you're a non-for-profit, we want to make sure that we're making money so that we can pay our employees, stay in business, and make a return for our investors and owners. If your operational data is not aligned with finance or finance isn't aligned with operations, again, where some of this infighting comes from between the two departments, operations may be doing a job that's not actually profitable. And sometimes that's okay, right? Long term, we're trying to build a relationship with the client. We're doing it out of goodwill to build up our stature in the industry or in the community, whatever it may be, but we can't do that every time. And so aligning your data to make sure for the T&L space, that our deliveries are actually making money, right? And that these maybe short-term deliveries are actually making money versus long-term deliveries, and knowing where we can grow and be competitive in and really create our strategy for the company is critical. Finance can't do that unless they're talking with operations and knowing exactly what operations is doing. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of problems that arise from it, but the biggest thing is we need to know if we're making money. Yeah, I don't know if there ever is a right time. There are better times, but I don't think an ever a perfect or right time to go through an ERP. Having gone through an ERP transition myself and knowing what it takes, it's a lot of work to do. So if you are in your off season, and that might be the right time, or prepping for your off season, that might be the right time. But really, you're always going to have issues. You're always going to have business, hopefully. You're always going to be busy in business. And so you need to determine that based off of the flexibility of your staff, the availability of your staff, and the seasonality of your industry in general, and plan around that. I've seen companies and I've had clients where they were just beginning operations and they went through a full-fledged ERP implementation and completely skipped spreadsheets or other smaller competitors that we usually transition from when going to NetSuite. I've also seen other companies that are $500 million in revenue and getting off their system they use for 30 years and transition in NetSuite, and they've gone through that transition as well. So I don't truly believe, excuse me, that there's ever a right time or a perfect scenario or a perfect company size or shipment volume or anything like that. I think you have to focus more on the issues that are arising and if an ERP can fix those issues. For instance, late financials. How long is it taking us to close our financials every month? Is operations and finance on the same page? And if not, why? Is it an ERP or system thing? Are we able to streamline our operations and get the reporting that we need in real time to be able to understand if we're actually making money? Because month-end close takes weeks to do and it's always in the past, right? So having real-time data between our operations and finance to understand where we're going to be is critical. Those are the things you need to worry about. Yes, there's better times to go through an ERP, but there's never a right time to go through an ERP transition. Long story short, the TMS is built to run operations. NetSuite is an ERP built to do finance, to do back office work, to do operations as well, but not as well as a traditional TMS. So NetSuite is there to help with really any industry, especially with financial reporting. So if we have segregated systems, we're really getting the best of both worlds. The TMS is built to run your transportation and logistics company. It knows best practices in the industry. It knows everything that you're going to need most likely or can be customized to a way that needs it. Rate tables, driver pay, route optimization, things like that. None of those are native in NetSuite because NetSuite can be used across many different industries. Where really NetSuite shines is where the back office workers come in. So purchasing, right? Sales orders and invoicing, your customer payment collection, your AP payments, your financial reporting is a big one. Your saved searches or your queries throughout the database, handling all of that data to be able to, at the click of a button, pull all of that data in real time. The financial reporting flexibility, NetSuite uses segmentation, which allows for really slicing and dicing of our financial reporting across different segments like locations or classes or subsidiaries. And it allows us to really understand the most money or maybe getting the most revenue from. Your TMS is going to be more flexible on their operational side. It may have a financial backbone, but that reporting perspective from the financial backbone is not going to be as in depth or as really as in depth as what is needed from a finance report. And again, this goes back to what we've talked about of finance is happy with NetSuite, operations is happy with the TMS, and to make both parties really happy and be able to streamline and work best, we can have separate systems. And that's the beauty of being able to use both of those systems and really integrating those systems together for real-time data transformation. Yeah, so it's important to integrate your two systems for real-time data availability. So being able to understand and see an invoice that operations may have invoiced out of TMS and in the NetSuite system or your financial system immediately aligns with financial reporting, month-end close, profitability reports, anything and everything that we're going to need to be able to run our business and keep both finance and operations happy. If the two systems weren't integrated, at least automatically integrated through different ways of integrating, I didn't want to get into it all, but yeah, there's multiple ways to integrate through a middle point, whatever middleware, whatever it may be. If the two systems are integrated through, let's say, a manual integration of CSV imports or things like that, data is a lot slower. Also, it's more prone to errors and human error specifically. So data integrity becomes an issue between the two systems if we're not integrating or if we're doing manual integrations. Transaction integrity becomes an issue. Timing becomes an issue. Human errors and errors in general become an issue of did we import that into NetSuite or not? Did we export that out of the TMS or not? Having everything automatically integrated in real time or even daily allows us to keep the two systems in sync. Really, you want the two systems to be reconciled so that operations is looking at what they need to be looking at in real time, finance is looking at what they need to be looking at. Classic example is customer credit limits. Many times, customer credit limits are kept in NetSuite or your financial system because your finance team is going to be giving the customer a customer credit limit. Operations wouldn't be doing that. However, operations needs to know what invoices are outstanding, also what jobs have not been invoiced to be able to understand if they can give a customer or take an order from a customer to know if they're in that credit limit. If we didn't have the two systems integrated, finance could put the customer credit limit into their financial system like NetSuite, but operations may not know what that credit limit is, or even more, going further, operations may not know what open invoices there are in NetSuite. So it'd be emails, Teams, whatever, to manually calculate the open or available credit for that. This is just one example of many of why having two systems automatically integrated where you can see real-time data seamlessly makes our operations more efficient and the teams working more cohesively. Yeah, I think the biggest thing with this is going into these discovery calls with your TMS provider, potential TMS provider, and ERP provider like NetSuite prepared. How would I get prepared, or how did I get prepared in prior calls, or what should I have done better? And also, and when I was evaluating ERPs on the client side, is really working with the people that do the day-to-day to understand what challenges they're having, what they would like to see in a new system, what workarounds potentially they are having to do right now in an old system that they'd like to see in a new system solved, where their pain points at or bottlenecks, what takes them the most time that really shouldn't. Things of like that, and understanding who is doing the day to day. A, that's important, but B, what issues they're having, just like we talked about. I think that whoever's evaluating this really needs to understand that and not assume that they know these issues, they know these problems, they know even what people do day to day. That was probably a mistake I made more than anything because I had used NetSuite before as a consultant, and I was I'd assumed that I kind of knew everything about what my employees were doing, even though I was new to that company and really was just trying to really kind of came in probably a little bit more confident than I did about what my employees needed. So understanding the requirements of the business and issues of the people doing the operations of the finance is extremely important. Your discovery calls and eliminate providers that aren't going to be able to do that or say they need to customize it or anything like that. Industry experience matters. I think in general, it always matters, right? If I'm going to get surgery, I'd rather have the surgeon that has 30 years of experience rather than the one that's right out of medical school. And I think the implicit answer is that is usually with more experience, you've seen more things, you can problem solve easier and quicker, and you already know the answers to challenges you may have faced in the past with other clients. One thing I think that often gets overlooked as well is people with more industry experience. I have in the consulting space have more empathy about what you're going through. If they understand your day-to-day operations, if they understand where your pain points are even before you do, or if you can explain where those pain points are, or guess or know where those pain points are and explain it to them and actually enlighten them on where their pain points are, you've just you know you have a good partner, right? Because they fully understand what you're going through and you have a partner on your side. If you were to use someone that has no experience in the T&L industry, A, it's going to make more harder implementation because you'll be teaching them about your industry, right? You'll be starting from square one rather than, 8 steps down the road because you'll have to be teaching them step 1 through 8, right? Whereas if you choose an industry expert or a partner with industry experience in your field, you can start from step 8 and you decrease your timeline, you decrease your costs, you decrease your time in general spending teaching that client. But they also, when you have a partner that knows this and has done this before, you truly have a partner that's empathetic to what you truly need, and understands what you're going through. And from an emotional standpoint, we're all humans at the end of the day, even though this is business, we're all emotional. And so having someone that can understand what we're going through really does ease a lot of the stress going through an ERP implementation. Whereas if you use someone that had no idea what the T&L industry was or the issues you go through every day, they may downplay your issues or they may say, oh, that's not important. Industry experience, is going to tone that down and really have your implementer be a partner rather than just a business relationship. It can make or break your implementation. It can make or break your experience. It can make or break the system that you're actually using. If you don't have a clear architecture and clear requirements and clear overall general picture of what your business does or the day-to-day operations of what your operations team, your finance team, your purchasing team, your HR team, your AR team, your AP team, whoever it may be, what they're doing, and you're choosing a system, you could choose the wrong system, or you could pick a system that works but needs more workarounds. It really can make or break your implementation and just your overall experience and even the system you choose. If you don't truly have a clear picture of what your business does, the architecture needed behind that business, and how different systems operate, or how different systems need to talk, or how different departments need to talk. So it is critical that you understand when you go into these discovery calls, when you're evaluating your ERP partners, your implement ERP partners in terms of what system to use, your TMS partners in terms of what system to use, and then your implementation partners, whether it's a TMS implementation partner, your ERP implementation partner like Efficiency, that you have a clear architecture, because they're going to be asking you this almost immediately after you sign on the dotted line. And again, it really can make or break everything in the implementation process. It can also save you time and money as well. I think if you're unsure, I think that answers the question that you probably need it. If you're having doubts about the system that you're using, and you're seeing the cracks starting to form, I think deep down you probably know you just may not want to admit it. Usually what happens in life, right? Until we're ready to admit it. And so I would start doing research. I'd start reaching out to different partners like a NetSuite, like an Efficiency, like a TMS provider, and just really do your discovery, right? Understand, is it the right time? Again, we talked about that. There really is no right time, but understand what your business does, and truly know what each team does. And then go into those calls. It doesn't hurt to have those calls. Those people, those business development reps, for any of those systems, get calls like that every day. It's part of their job. And even if you don't think that you need it now, but the cracks are starting to form, you're building that relationship up so that a year from now, when you do need it, you know exactly who to talk to. And they're going to be ecstatic to have a new person to contact and potentially have in their pipeline. And even if you don't need it now, again, check in on you, and build that business relationship.